Welcome. I'm Rogers Anderson, Williamson County's mayor, and today I have the distinct pleasure and honor to have a conversation with our sheriff of Williamson County, Dusty Rhoades.
Hey, Rogers, how are you today?
I'm fine. This time of year is exciting. Football, we just talking about it before. You got a little basketball beginning to get serious, but it's just incredible. The sports here in Williamson County, our own high school teams and football teams and basketball teams, they're just, it's a great place to live, great county to be in.
It is. And just like you mentioned with our sports teams here, you know, we had what? 4 of our high schools, maybe 5 went to the playoffs this year. And unfortunately, none of them I think Summit brought it back.
I don't know all the.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a great place. We got some great athletes here in the county, great teams, and of course, I live out by Page and enjoy going out there and watching the girls basketball and boys basketball and stuff. So, yeah, we're very blessed.
So let's just kind of lead into that. I mean, you talk about all of us love our sports and our academics that we put on here in Williamson County, and schools do a great job of that. The coaches do a good job. You and I don't have a lot to do with that. But kind of tell us a little bit about Dusty, where he came from, how you got involved in law enforcement. Some of the people may know, but it's always good to refresh their memories.
Well, I grew up in West Tennessee, a small town outside of Jackson, Milan, Tennessee. Then,
now let me interrupt you. Jeff Long, your predecessor, was he from around out?
He was from Parsons,
Parsons,
yeah, which is in West Tennessee. So
big city.
Yeah. I think Milan population of 7,000, and it's been that way. I knew it was probably that way when I was growing up, and it's still that way. There's just not a whole lot going on in the budding metropolis of Milan. But I graduated Milan High School in '74. Came to MTSU there's about 10 of us from my high school class that came up there. My sophomore year, I met my wife, Lynn, who was born and raised here in Williamson County. And then we got married, moved here, and I came to work for Fleming Williams. I enjoy this story in the fact that the first day I met Fleming, it was on a Monday, and I was in intercession. That's a 3-week section of school that you go in college, and you go like for 6 or 7 hours. And Fleming said, well, this was on a Monday. He said, when you get out of school? I said, Friday. He said, I'll see you Saturday. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I didn't even have a pistol. And back then, when the county, I mean, we had to supply everything back then. So I was having to spend some money and go. Fleming told me where to go to get my uniforms. And I'll never forget that first day I came in to work, and the guys that were there, they said, new guy, because everything I had was not what I was supposed to have. Oh. I went to the uniform store, and they sold me some stuff that I didn't need, and then some of the stuff they sold me wasn't the right stuff. So, but, you know, we got through that, and like I said, that was June 1st of '79, and the rest is history.
So in your career as in the law enforcement, I'm sure you've just about covered every role that a police officer would need to be. And it is comforting to know that you are the sheriff now, and you've worked your way up. You've earned that respect from not only your camaraderie, you know, your other men and women that you work around, but the community at large too. What was one of the more difficult things that you had to, not going out with no money after you first married and buying uniforms, what was one of the most difficult things that you might have faced over your long tenure? How many years are we talking?
Well, I'm in my 41st year.
Yeah.
I guess one of the most difficult ones was, I've got 2 that stick out in my mind. And one of them was, it was dealing with the first time I ever dealt with a fatality crash.
Yeah.
And being, you know, never having dealt with such matters of that. And what I had to do, I mean, I did what I had to do, but I still remember that today. And then, of course, we had the situation when one of our previous sheriffs got in a little trouble, and that was probably the toughest situation I've ever been in, to have to deal with that.
Well, 41 years ago, you went to school, and 42 years ago, you went to school and knew you wanted to be a law enforcement. Today, you've still got some of the same things eating at you, only you're the sheriff. You're the top dog now, and you got to do it. What is that?
It's you know, the things that eat at me the most now is getting people to come to work. As you know, we're shorthanded, and of course, you know, we're blessed here in Williamson County, and the nation is right now with the economy like it is, and so jobs are plentiful. And you know, I'm hurting. Like I said, I'm 25 people short working in the jail, and I'll tell you, like I tell everybody, that working in the jail is the toughest job we have. And it takes a special breed to work in there. Of course, too, you know, there's certain criteria you got to meet before I can hire you. And I had a young man that applied just the other day that's working for a state agency, and he's got a couple of misdemeanors, and he wants to come work for him. Well, I can't hire him for those misdemeanor charges. So trying to get the people in here, plus trying to keep those individuals motivated, want to come to work, and try to make the sheriff's office a good place to work, and which I think it is. But you know, too, like I say, it's hard to do. But then too, I know I can't please everybody. If I can please the masses and keep them happy, I'm satisfied.
So you've got several openings over in the jail side, and you've got a few on the patrol division side also. What are some of the typical things, the way that you all recruit? You know, one of the things, there's an enormous amount of training that goes in now for our men and women, whether you're on the jail side, patrol side, even our student resource officers.
School resource officers.
School resource officers. In an enormous amount of training to get our men and women up to the I'll call it certification level, so that they can be an effective individual out there working. But when we're trying to recruit, what kind of person are you looking for, Dusty?
Well, I want somebody that is that wants to get out and help people. That's what this job is about, is getting out and helping people. And, you know, you have some people come in that are just looking for a paycheck, and you can find that out early on in the interview process. And then there again, those that want to come in here and be a good avenue, for lack of better words, for the citizens of the county, and that they have a real desire to get in here and help people.
Do most of our law enforcement personnel start over on the jail side?
Yes, that was one of the things that we try to do. There's been some situations that have come up to where I had to go outside and get some people, but bring them into jail and get them started. And the guys that are on the road now that worked in the jail, I'm going to go out on a limb here, but I'm going to say 100%, I'm going to tell you, they hated every minute of working in the jail. But it was some of the best training that they could have gotten from the time going through our detention training academy, dealing with the inmates, learning how to deal with that section of society and stuff. Said they wouldn't trade the training for anything, but they just didn't like working in the jail.
Are you looking for, and I'm sure you would prefer, someone with some college classroom experience, at least know law enforcement, criminology, or something like that. But that's not always the case.
No. You know, we've got several people in the department that have got degrees, and some of them in criminal justice, and some not in criminal justice. I've even got some that have got masters in other fields. But you know, college is good, but it's not the I guess it's not the sole divider, because too, in police work, you've got to have a lot of common sense. And there's a lot of people out there got a lot of book smarts, but when it comes to street smarts, they are clueless.
Well, so I'm sure the staff here on our TV show will put up a number and a website so they can reach out if people watching this show. There is an opportunity, and we're looking at pay issues. We know we've got to address that. We made the comment recently in a meeting, you know, some of the restaurants here in Williamson County are starting out their people more than what we were doing for law enforcement. Now, granted, a lot of those jobs in the restaurants, they're part-time and et cetera, but we need to be paying our people a little bit more, and that just takes time to make, because everything has a dollar value to it. But it's gotten, I won't say it's critical, but it's a serious situation when you don't have enough people to handle your jail.
Oh, yes. Like I say, we had to come back the other day to transfer some money from salaries over to overtime, because my guys working in the jail, the men and women, a lot of them are working double shifts to keep the jail running. And of course, during the holidays, I had our school resource officers. So many of those came out of the jail that, excuse me, while they were off, they were able to make some overtime and come in and help out.
It's a good opportunity. Let's talk about some of the other positions that you've got all throughout your jurisdiction. I mean, I see an awful lot of men and women working intersections on roads. I see a lot of our senior citizens, men that are going through the police, your academy, the sheriff's academy, that just want to give back to the community.
Yeah, we have a lot of those, and I appreciate those. We have a reserve division. They're all volunteers, and they, their biggest purpose, I guess you could say, when you're in the room, said, hey, I want to give back to my community. There's something I can do, and maybe this will be that one item that I can help give out, because like I said, they'll help us out at the Leapers Fort Parade, and there's so many functions that come up during the course of the year that I just don't have the people to put out there, and these reserve deputies will step up. County commission meetings, I've got some that'll come over and attend those, and I believe there's some at the school board meetings and stuff, so they want to give back to the community.
Well, and I think the reason I was going there with this conversation, there's probably a place out there for many other people that didn't realize with the proper training, they can give back to the community in that area. And it's not about to pay at that particular point in their life. Oftentimes it's about, number one, getting out of the house, but number two, giving back to the community that's been so good to them.
Yeah, like I said, and then there's several things I'm looking at right now to where, just like the hospital has those people that come in and volunteer. I think there's some other avenues out there that other programs that I'm looking at that maybe I get some more people in that they could handle some situations that would free up our road deputies some.
Sheriff, let's look at your total number of employees. Kind of go through that. How many total employees you got counting jail? I mean, you've got a very large workforce. Now you've got a lot of people underneath you that are overseeing some of this, but at the end of the day, it's your responsibility.
Yeah, the buck stops here.
It does stop there.
And that's.
I know how that feels.
Yeah, it used to be when I was the chief deputy, I could always go to the sheriff and say, hey, we got this going on, what you want to do? And now it's back on me. So, but yeah, I've got 370 total employees when we've got a full crew. And I mean, we've got them working in the jail. I've got people that go out that take inmates out to pick up trash. Of course, we've got our patrol division, our school resource officers, which is our largest division.
Which is amazing to me. Just 5-6 years ago, we had maybe 1 or 2. Now we have
70. I've got 70 working in the schools right now, and looks like we're going to be needing some more too. So, but like I said, we've got criminal investigations, our court services. They're the ones that serve the civil process and do state warrants. We've got an IT department, and when I started in police work, a computer was, they were as big as this room, I guess you could say. But now, I mean, every one of the patrol cars now has a computer on board. Technology has brought so much to us. With that's like I said, I've got an IT department that does all of our computers, all of our body cameras, and our in-car cameras, and it seems like there's, as technology comes on, there's more and more stuff that needs to be done, and there's only so much that individuals can do. And I know we've had this discussion before. Like I said, I'm short in IT right now, and I know the county's been looking for somebody for a long time, and so. But I got to give it to the men and women that work for me. They know we're short, and these guys, they may muddle and groan a little bit. They do the job, and they get in there and do what needs to be done.
You're talking about IT and all the advancements of that, the body cameras, the car cameras, everything that we've got. Actually, technology is very expensive. Let's make no bones about that. I noticed the large city just north of us they're trying to debate how to get into the body camera business, but the body camera themselves is not the true cost. It's storing, and it's whatever word you all use. You got to go through the films and
right. You got to review when the deputies come in, they download everything, and then we don't review every case that comes up. Some of it just doesn't need. But if somebody complains about an officer or the way something's done, we'll review that video. Now a lot of times, well, just about all the time, like on a DUI stop or something like that. The DA will get a copy. Well, matter of fact, now we're hooked into the DA's office to where we don't have
technology.
We don't have to burn CDs. We can hook right up to our system and see our body camera footage and our in-car camera footage. And then too, like I said, the technology. When I started, in our cars, I mean, I had one switch to turn my lights on and turn my siren on. Well, then I had a ticket book. Well, now, I mean, tickets are even automated now. We got it's called an e-citation, where they can hold it and just slide your driver's license through and prints out all the information and goes on.
Well, and I heard some comments the other day that I won't mention who was talking to me, that there's even the ability now with cameras that those cars speeding through subdivisions that we get calls about all the time, that they do make cameras now that focus in on the license plate, and they can just take a picture of that and mail you a ticket.
Well, yeah, but that takes a little legislation.
And I understand it does.
But think about that though. There's I know up here on Franklin Road, as they're going through that construction through Brentwood, they've got speed limit signs that will flash the speed, and if you're speeding, it'll do a red and blue light and stuff, and technology and stuff. And I think those are great, and it helps out a whole lot. I understand people today. They're going to work or coming home. Their mind is a million miles away on what they're supposed to be doing. And they may exceed that speed limit, but I think when that sign pops up, they'll go, oh man, I didn't know I was going that fast.
Yeah, and that technology is out there now, that when that flashing light goes, it can take a flashing picture too. Let's talk about some of the driving habits around our county. And you're the sheriff of the entire county. Usually you don't get into the Franklin, the Brentwood, the other cities that have law enforcement personnel about their policies.
Right.
But you and your jurisdiction your men do have jurisdiction inside it. So if you were speeding from the county and run into Franklin, you're not about to stop chasing them.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about our driving habits, because it seems to me that I see more people. It's getting better, but I still see people using the technology called the phone, either for texting or for phone calls. What's the current law that regulates that so that everybody understands? Because I was going to Nashville yesterday, I saw a car drifting over on the interstate. I knew exactly what was going on. Mm-hmm. Now, 20 years ago, they were falling asleep. But today, it's pretty simple what's happening.
Well, the law basically states if you're in a car and you're driving, when those wheels on that car are moving, you are not supposed to have your cell phone on your person. And I stopped a young lady today. I had stopped at one of the convenient markets to give me something to drink, and I'm coming out, and she was at the traffic light and had that phone up there and started driving down the road, and that phone never left her hand, so I had to pull her over and politely remind her that the law states when those wheels are moving, that phone's got to be down. So, that, and then we've issued, I think the last time I checked, we'd issued like 47 citations for that. And, my purpose, and I tell my guys, let's just warn the people the first time, and and then if you catch them again, which happens,
sure,
and write them up.
It's kind of like raising children. Just because you say it doesn't mean they always listen.
That's it. But then too, another big one I have, like you mentioned a minute ago, we've got so many subdivisions popping up in the county, and that's the speeders. And I don't think people purposely do it.
No.
Like I mentioned a minute ago, they're wrapped up in their day-to-day life, and they're just not paying attention. Of course, vehicles nowadays, they're made so much quieter and smoother to ride in, you don't really realize it. And not just the subdivisions, but I think I've mentioned to you before, 840. You know, it's not uncommon for a deputy to clock somebody going over 100 miles an hour on 840, and sometimes even on I-65 it gets to be that fast. So the speeding, and I wish I had an answer to slow everybody down. I just don't have enough people to, you know, to get on every street and everything, and I know the city's doing the same thing. And but the speeding and the cell phones, you know, we still have issues with DUIs. Unfortunately, you know, that's still out there. And then, of course, you know, too, we have the issue too sometimes of people smoking marijuana and driving. That's still driving under the influence. So.
When I think about the vast amount of work the deputies have to do, and you're responsible for that, each of those 200 plus men and women working every single day, there's a lot of opportunity for them to just really help our community. And I think 99.99%, as that old bar soap commercial used to say, they're there for the right reasons. Occasionally, we all have people that go astray. But I just don't know of a sheriff's department. Again, I don't work in every division, but you and your predecessor before you have developed a culture that is just second to none, and I thank you for that.
Well, we appreciate that. You know, when we tell our people when we hire them, and like I said, when Jeff was sheriff and, you know, and being his chief deputy, I mean, it's out here about helping the people. That's what we're there for. I mean, and sometimes you have to be mean and arrest somebody, but, you know, that's the last resort. We want to help people, and, you know, and I one of my pet peeves is I don't want to ever hear of a patrol car driving past a stranded motorist and not stopping to help. I mean, I know everybody's got cell phones nowadays, can call for help, but, you know, I get a lot of compliments too where, you know, deputy stopped up, and there was a car on the side of the road that had a flat tire. And, you know, there have been some young men out there that don't know how to change a flat tire. We'll give them a lesson. We'll teach them how to change that flat tire. Yeah. But then sometimes, like I say, you know, so many cars nowadays don't come with a spare tire. So, you know, our guys will stand by with them until help gets there. So, you know, it's about helping the people.
Mental health of our men and women is always an issue with you. You mentioned about one of your earlier traffic accidents and the impact that played at this accident. And it's so true about the men and women today. We heard from the public health director just in the last couple of days that suicide was just rampant in our county, not specifically law enforcement. But that mental health of the person that's working in your capacity, that's so critical.
Yeah, you know, these guys see so much, and as you know here with the Natchez Trace Bridge, these guys have gotten people off, and I've had one deputy that has seen, I mean, we've gotten the calls, and just as he's gotten on the bridge, he's seen them going off. And it takes a toll on them. And, you know, my door is always open, and I know the county has great services that, you know, if they need help, and it is hard in law enforcement to ask for that help because sometimes you may be stigmatized and, you know, may raise a red flag, but, you know, our biggest is the mental health and the physical health of all of our employees.
Dusty, we've got about 5 minutes left in our show. I'm sure there's something I have overlooked that you'd like to get out. Number one, while you're thinking of that, you're just needing some more people, more bodies, male, females. There are some criteria. There's ways to reach out to you, to get your name on that list, and we would really appreciate that.
Yes, like I say, you can go on the Williamson County webpage and look under Sheriff's Office, and you can find the application. Unfortunately, it's 15 pages, a lot of paperwork. Yeah. You got to download it and fill it out and mail it in to us. And then, you know, we've got applications at the Sheriff's Office if you want to come by and get one of those. And
if you've got a history of that's not squeaky clean, you probably don't need to waste a lot of time.
This is true. Like I say, if you've got a criminal history, it's hard because I have to answer to the Post Commission and the Tennessee Corrections Institute, and they have minimum standards, and you know I have to get those minimum standards before I can hire you.
What do you want to say to your men and women this morning?
Well, I appreciate everything that they do, And just, you know, I talked to him the other day that the county commission is and the mayor are working on trying to do something with getting the pay up and stuff. And just appreciate everything that they do, and we appreciate everything you do for us.
Well, thank you. The general public should know that when you talk about jails, I find when I speak to groups, a lot of people don't realize the jail that we have at the end of Century Court is the jail for all of Williamson County. There are no city jails.
Right, and each agency, I believe, has a holding room, but at the end of the day, if they're going to be locked up, they're coming to 408 Century Court.
Well, and we'll just touch on it in the last couple of minutes. We got to have a new jail here in a few years.
Yes, you know, our jail's not overcrowded, but you know, the way the
How many
county's
beds?
454, which is a misnomer because depending on what you got going on inside the jail, but you know, the way the county's growing, we'll probably see an increase. But the jail is old, and it's 30 years old, and it's one of those businesses. You know, I always say we made those, but we never close. I mean, it's running 24/7. Those doors are moving, and so much of this inner workings of the jail, as far as like the mechanisms on the doors and stuff, they don't make those parts anymore. So, yeah, we've got some creative financing, I guess you can say, we want to figure out. But
well, there's no question that that jail's 30 plus years old. It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
You and I are both around for that period of time when we built it. We thought that'll last for as long as we're around. That didn't do it.
No.
And we've got to look at a new jail. And of course, nobody wants a jail in their community. And so we're kind of looking, what could we do out there at the end of Century, at the end of Beasley, and looking at some of the property, the rock quarries all the way around us, the public safety buildings out there. Probably be the best location for us to relocate a jail, but it's got to be done in phases. Unfortunately, you just can't tell all the prisoners you're going to leave for a couple of years. We'll pick you up when you come back.
Go home, and we'll call you when it's time to come back.
Doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And every jail around us, bar none, I guess, is in the same situation we are. They're full, or they're not at capacity. But they can't just take all of your inmates.
No, and that's one big concern we have. We have some situations, and you know, just like our plumbing, when the plumbing goes down, we may have to move inmates and move them to different areas, which, you know, like it causes a hardship on family members that come down there to our jail on Fridays or Saturdays and Sundays for visitation. That, you know, we may have to move somebody to Montgomery County. Well, who wants to make that drive? But, you know, we'll weather the storm. We'll get through it one way or the other. They can't eat us.
No. Dusty, thank you. Our time's out. Appreciate what you do. Appreciate what your men and women do for our community and our county. Your leadership is just so important, and thank you for doing that.
Well, thanks for having me.
You bet. Have a good day.
Happy New Year.